Welcome to another edition of the Gentle Art Lifestyle, what we're now just kind of calling podcast, where we kind of go over some things that we're going through with different clients and coaches and different things that we've learned, and perhaps it can be useful to you. I know it's useful to me to, re-go over things and hear how Nick thinks about them. So
Absolutely.
Let's get right into it. Nick, what is the topic today?
The topic today is going to be about our emotional mind, our rational or logical mind, and then the combination of the two, which is called the wise mind.
Yes.
When we use that, or the pros and cons of the different kinds of states that our brain can take when we're trying to work through things.
Do you know anybody that uses their emotional mind more often than not?
Yes.
You do know people like that. Me too.
I have experienced that. I feel like there's some people that never move out of their emotional mindset.
What would be some indications that somebody may be in their emotional mind or be emotional minded?
The biggest indicator is when people are like egregiously reactive.
Reactive. Got it.
So the biggest indicator is like road rage. That's like number one reactive
Okay.
emotional mind. If you see people when they're driving and they get mad at other drivers, that's only an emotional mind.
Or if we go with reactive, people probably that maybe yell a lot.
People that yell a lot, yes, or people that go through frequent mood swings.
Maybe people that have. I just lost my train of thought.
Also,
Oh no!
oh no.
We're off to a good start here.
Yes. I would say it doesn't always have to be negative emotions either. There's people that can really boost the mood of a lot of people in the area by picking up that good energy and amplifying it throughout whoever they're with.
It's wild to walk into a room and just feel the energy both ways. Like sometimes you walk into a room, you're like, this is fucking awesome, right? Like nothing's really happened. It's a normal room, but like, you just feel the energy in the room.
Mm-hmm. People calling that aura nowadays.
Is that what they're calling it? That's what the kids are saying.
They're saying this room has aura.
Really? Dang. You're bringing me up to I'm catching up to these kids. Additionally, if you're in one of those rooms and then negative Nancy walks in and you can just feel that she is not down with the aura, as you would say.
Yep. And it just goes.
And those are both emotions, right? We're riding the high. We're riding that emotional, like, oh, this is great. And then that person comes in and we happen to buy her energy. I don't know why. I guess negative Nancy. That's why it's a her.
Mm-hmm.
Happen to buy her energy, and then that's it.
Yeah, you can almost feel the Charlie Brown dust over the top of their head as they walk in.
Like the Linus? Isn't that
Yeah.
the yeah?
Yeah, that's
All
it.
right. Nailed it. That's what the kids were saying 30 years ago, Nick.
Absolutely.
Okay, so those are examples of an emotional mind. Now, what about a logical mind?
Logical mind are people, when you're talking to them, you can see like their eyes like go off into the distance, and they're really thinking about what you're saying and trying to figure out how to solve the problem.
I feel triggered. Half the time I'm like this when I'm speaking. I'm like, okay, I can't take any other information. I got to process what that was. Anyway.
Well, yeah, you're doing it for different reasons because you're blind. No, just kidding.
What?
I don't know where that came from.
Yeah, definitely not.
But yeah, people that are really taking the data and doing a lot of analysis in their brain and trying to, a lot of times logical-minded people or rational-minded people are in the mode of fixing. And they're like, how can I fix it? How can I make this better? What is this data telling me? What can we do about that right now? Those types of responses, reactions. And the other thing is, instead of reacting to things, a lot of times they're responding to things.
Would you say that you'd rather be at a party with a bunch of emotional minded people or logical minded people?
I think the best party has both.
Probably. But if you want to
But if
go
I
to a
had to
wild
pick-
party, it's going to be with those emotional folk.
Yep, I was just gonna say that.
the nice thing about emotion, and I actually think emotion is a superpower that we don't tap into, and our culture kind of shits on it. Like, oh, you're too emotional. No, you're not. You just haven't had an opportunity to understand it, express yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Yeah, and people often say that about like negative emotions, but no one ever says, well, I've heard it,
you're one of the
But-
few people that I've heard.
but nobody ever says, bro, you're too happy.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
calm down. Unless you hang out with me too long.
Yeah, then it has happened.
Yeah.
It's the logical people are going to sit and like, oh, is this too much food? Oh, is this going to be a good party if I get this lights? Oh no, this has to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And then the emotional people just ride that wave. They're listening to the universe somehow through their subconscious or whatever, wherever emotions actually come from.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, oh, you know what would be cool if we skinny dipped in the pool right now? A logical person would be like, oh no, that cold water is going to do damage. It's not going to look good down there. Damage. And the
Emotional damage.
yeah, emotional debt, right? Whereas the emotional person's like, let's do this, and they're all about to live life. Okay, so I don't know where this party analogy came from, but I think it's working.
Right.
What is the wise mind?
The wise mind is a combination of both. They're tapping into the emotions. They're able to use empathy to read the emotions of the conversation, but they also use their logical mind to respond in a way which is best for that conversation.
That makes total sense. Is there somebody behind me?
There almost was someone behind you, and then
I didn't want to turn around.
I turned.
Yeah, it's better angle for you. I'm still a little stiff. Anyway,
Anyways,
okay, so the wise mind is a combination of two. I actually had somebody ask me, because I talk about logical mind and emotional mind 50 times a week. There's certain things that I use really consistently: logical mind, emotional mind, stress backpack.
kink of the hose.
Yeah, but that's a different coaching.
True.
Elbows home. It depends.
Oh, I thought you were talking about congruency.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, there's another one, congruency. So those I talk about every single day. I think, so somebody asked me, what do I think that the right percentage is? First of all, I wouldn't associate a percentage as being right, because what is right for me wouldn't be right for you.
That sounds like a logical mind question.
Right. Yeah. But then I genuinely thought about it, and I think somewhere in the like 60 to 65% emotional and like 35%, 40% logical. I think to navigate, this is going to be a trick here, to navigate the world on a normal level, that's probably a healthy ratio. And you could probably swing it back the same way. You could go 60% logic, 40% emotion. The reason I skew emotion a little bit more is because when you have emotion in something, it helps you remember it.
Mm-hmm.
It helps you live the moment. It helps you do all sorts of different things, whereas the logical mind slows everything down. It analyzes different things, and analyzing it helps sometimes.
Right.
But once you're in the moment, fucking just live it.
Yeah, living in the moment is something that we talk about often, and I feel like it does get missed because we go into analysis paralysis with all the data, and you can't feel it when you're going through it.
Shit, it might even be more if obviously we talk about jiu-jitsu quite a bit. In jiu-jitsu, if you're grappling, so like we might be at a seminar and we might be learning the anglerfish sweep, and we're thinking
That's a good one.
It's a good one. We're thinking, check out video anglerfish sweep. Maybe
It's on the Patreon.
It's on the Patreon. So we're thinking about the anglerfish sweep. We're okay, well, what happens with this? Okay, well, if this happens, then that. Okay. And we're just putting the numbers into the equation. We're solving the equation in that time. But when we're rolling, if we take the time to do that, it's never going to work.
No.
It's crazy that jujitsu yet again provides us with another analogy.
Yes. Jiu-jitsu is life.
Hashtag.
It's not a cult.
We should talk about cults one day.
One day, yes. I think we've said that before.
Okay. So if you are finding yourself, if you're listening to this and you're like, I am definitely an emotional minded person,
Mm-hmm.
and you think it's a detriment, well, of course, as a coach, I'd ask, well, why is it a detriment? Right? So that would be the first question. But let's say that you have a good answer for that.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go about balancing and getting to that wise mind?
That's a great question.
To put you on the spot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something that always puts a pause into it. So if I'm skewing too emotionally and you can feel your emotions starting to override your actions and you're becoming more reactive rather than responsive, the timeout I always give myself is a good deep breath. Like, I think I actually told you earlier this week, I was doing a City Champs class, and I felt my emotions roiling up for this child that just has a ton of energy and will never sit still and did not allow me to teach anything, which, could
Kids.
be good, could be bad.
Yeah, yeah.
That's kids, the nature of kids. And I had to, twice in that class, I closed my eyes and I took a large deep breath, and I was literally like, okay, let's do this now. And then I was able to respond logically to what I needed to do to regain the class and get the class moving, rather than like reacting to the child and like giving him a piece of my mind, which he does not deserve.
or probably wouldn't even understand.
Exactly.
Right?
Right.
Okay,
He's 6.
Yeah.
I let a 6-year-old control me.
Do you think you could whoop his ass, though, if he got out of line?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's why we train jiu-jitsu. What a weird right turn I just took. I'm so sorry.
Don't cancel us.
Yeah. So if we add in time, if we're able to put some sort of stopgap between the feed of emotion and how we're reacting to it, that can get us more into a logical frame of mind to try to balance the emotion. Is that what you're saying?
That's right, yes. So we can not let it overtake us, especially if it's not an emotion that we want to feel, I would say. Because sometimes there are good emotions that you want to feel as much of as you can.
Yeah.
Like, I would say, just an anecdote for a good emotion that I felt is one time we were in the lake and there was like a full moon, and it was like February or something, and we were in Lake Michigan. Yeah, it was at a camp. It was like almost a full moon or something. But I remember being in the water, and then I turned out and looked at the moon, and it was like, I don't know, I just had this large feeling of euphoria, and I just let that course through me, and I didn't want to stop it or think about how cold it was or anything like that.
In 33-degree water.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. On the flip side, if you find yourself to be overly logical, how do you go from logic to implementing emotion?
It's going to sound redundant, but the same exact thing, right? I give myself that moment because I can feel when my logical mind, like analysis paralysis, takes me out of like a good mood and starts putting me into a bad mood, or like I have 25 things on my to-do list and I have 2 hours before I got to teach my next class, and I got to drive there and I got to do this. How am I supposed to take care of all these things? But then I will just, again, take that deep breath and not allow everything I'm thinking about to over encumber what I'm actually able and capable of taking care of in that time frame, and then allowing me to decipher what to do next and how to spend my time and move forward with it.
Gotcha. This one's an interesting one for me because I work with multiple doctors that have trouble with empathy. Empathy certainly being on the scale, shouldn't say certainly, but pretty much certainly on the scale of emotion. I just don't like, absolutes.
Sure.
So what I've built is starting with their communication with both themselves and with their patients,
Mm-hmm.
and trying to find different triggers and trying to find different things to get them to listen more, get them to listen to what they're actually saying. So we go through, try to build a habit, which means a month or two of just straight listening to actually the words instead of many, many times people with that type of very logical set you'll be a halfway through your sentence and their predictive model is like, oh, I know what's going on. I'm going to answer it right away.
Yes. They don't allow you to finish.
Don't allow, yeah. Like, whoa, man or lady.
Yes.
Take it easy. So the first thing is get them to actually listen, and then get them to listen to body language, and then get them to listen to energy, which is it can be very difficult for people that don't have empathy to begin with.
Someone's aura?
Maybe. So these things, so going into that and then doing all those things also for yourself.
Yes.
So like listen to what you're saying, either internally, like whatever your
internal narrative is at that moment.
That's right. Or what you are actually responding. Try to pay attention to your actual body language. Like what, I could be telling you, Nick, you're the happiest motherfucker on the earth. Like what I said was good.
Whoa.
But my tonality.
That was aggressive, man.
Yeah. Nick, you stop. You're so happy. I love it. Like that. That's.
Yes.
Those aren't congruent in your communication, and therefore, you should know about it, right? Can you imagine if a doctor walked in doing that? Looks like you're all healthy. Like,
I would go to that doctor.
yeah. Anyway, so I hate when I say so. That's a habit I'm going to break one day. And once you have established how to listen and how to, understand people's energy, how to understand your energy, you are more likely to take in more information, which is going to allow you to be empathetic for what is going on. The annoying thing about logical people, and I say annoying because I find it annoying about myself, because I certainly skew logical. However, I've done quite a bit of work to learn the emotional part of me. The annoying thing is jumping to conclusions, always trying to fix something that doesn't necessarily need to be fixed, like you said, but then like not even allowing the information to come to me.
Like cutting it off too early.
Yes, exactly that. If you cut it off too early, then even if I did want to fix it, I'm going to fix it stupidly.
Yes, because you don't get to see the entire scope.
Yes.
Of what's going on.
Yes. Yeah. So that's that happens a lot, and when you're a doctor, you should probably get the whole scope of things.
Yeah, and we've probably talked about this before. I don't know about on the podcast, but communication is more nonverbal than it is what the words coming out of our mouth actually is.
Yes.
And being able to listen to body language, tonality, pitch, watch people's faces, eyebrows, nose, ears, hands.
Can't see my ears.
Toes.
What? It's getting weird.
Yep. But being able to see all of those things and absorb that information on top of the actual words that somebody is saying is going to give you more of a clear picture if you're able to be in tune with that.
And if you lack at that skill, let's just play a quick game. What area of life would that, if you got better at that skill, what area of that life would that not impact? feel like I'm using double negatives. If I think about it, that skill impacts every piece of my life.
Yes.
Certainly for my career, for coaching, but my relationship at home, my relationship with students, with friends, my relationship with random people on the street, how I treat myself, how I talk to myself when I do something good, how I talk to myself when I do something bad. You know, the ability to do these things, to live in the wise mind and dance between them is literally impacts every piece of your life.
I would agree for sure.
Yeah. Okay. Wise mind. If that's our goal, how do we dictate what wise mind is? Like, how do I know when I'm there?
I feel like it is a feeling when you're not over encumbered by either side, and when you're able to kind of bounce between both parts of your mind at the same time is really when your wise mind shows itself. And that's, you know, fundamentally what wisdom is, when you're able to take the knowledge and utilize it at the right time.
Thank you for bringing that up, because I wanted to do almost a whole podcast on wisdom versus knowledge. There can't be any wisdom without knowledge, and knowledge without wisdom is like having a tool that you have no idea how to use.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm going to use an analogy to go back to the wise mind. To me, it's like your eyeballs. Sometimes you need to focus on something if you're reading something, or you want to, okay, what does this microphone say? Okay. And sometimes you want to zoom out. And sometimes you're conscious of it. Okay, this little wire here says wire. It actually does say wire, which is kind of funny.
Properly labeled.
Okay, so my eyeball went there because I wanted it to, logically.
Yeah.
But then if I saw something in my periphery, and then it's somewhere in between. It's focusing on something, it's periphery. It's focusing on something, it's periphery. And it's doing it on its own. And a healthy, good eye is going to do that on its own. It's not going to specifically, if it's healthy, right? Then you have nearsighted, which would probably be emotional and logical. You have farsighted, right? Like, so you have these unhealthy, different versions, unhealthy, air quote.
Yeah.
I don't want to give anybody narratives.
Sure. I wear contacts.
Yeah. So all of these things, like that's to me what it feels like, or would be a decent analogy. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I like that analogy, because the reflexes of your eyes focusing on things versus when you kind of like go into your thoughts. Like most people aren't closing their eyes when they're thinking about things.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes more of a habit of bouncing between those things rather than focusing on where our eyes are going, if that makes sense.
Nope.
I got distracted by what my eyes were looking at.
You lost me there, but that's okay. We'll just say that it's a pretty good analogy, and it's not 1-to-1.
I could feel the analogy.
Yeah.
I couldn't describe it as well as you did.
All right, perfect. And now for a tangent on wisdom. When you are on social media, or you are scrolling through news, or you are taking in from Tommy Two Times what's going on in the president debate. That's a movie reference, by the way.
Never heard of it.
I know that somebody out there. If you got the Tommy Two Times reference, please write something on the Patreon. When you have these headlines that are knowledge, there's some information coming in, right? Whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent, there's some information coming in. Taking that knowledge and spreading it without a due process of finding out, is this information solid, is on all levels a really dumb thing to do. And
Right.
we're all guilty of it. I do it all the time. I'll see some like bodacious headline, bodacious. I think that's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
All right.
Yep. I'll see some bodacious headline and I'll be like, oh, it's at it again. You know, Biden has fucking AIDS and now he's dead and he's been a robot for the last 3 years. Well, that's it. That I knew it.
Sure.
Like, something. Well, hey Nick, did you know Biden's a robot for the last 3 years because he died of gonosyphilis AIDS?
Wow.
Right.
That's crazy.
And then you
Where'd
pass
you
this
hear
on.
that?
Yeah, you pass this on. I read it on Reddit.
Yeah. Wait, where was the article from? I don't even know.
I have no idea. What was the headline? It was exactly that. What was the body? I don't know. I didn't click on it.
All right.
That seems pretty stupid, right? But we all do it. We all do
All
it.
the time.
All the time.
Did you hear about this? No. Tell me more. Well, actually, I can't.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and try to make up some narrative that,
Well, it seems like, that would make sense that he was a robot because of the oil change.
Yeah. The oil. Where have you gone the last 5 minutes of this podcast? The oil change. Then again, what am I saying? I'm talking about gonosyphil AIDS. Anyway, the point being that we take in what we think is knowledge, and without the wisdom to discern it, to see if it makes sense. Does it make sense that Biden's a robot? No. If I really thought about that critically, no, that doesn't really make a ton of sense. Maybe 10 years from now it will, but
Who knows?
who knows? It seems as though if we took the time to live in that wise mind, and we didn't just get emotional and say, I knew it, Trump is the new Hitler, right? Or I knew it, Biden is Alzheimer's McGee. Let's take the time to do a little research and see where those facts are coming from. Do you need to go in and read scientific papers for everything? Maybe, maybe not. But it would be wise to, before you start sharing something, before you start a mind virus, and before you start spreading a mind virus, it would be a good idea to maybe add a little bit of wisdom in there.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Taking the time to do some research and to actually see if what you're sharing is even relevant to the conversation.
Yes. And the reason that this all kind of comes together is because many people get emotional. When talking about Donald Trump, oh my gosh, people get so emotional. When talking about Joe Biden, oh my gosh, people get so emotional.
I think politics in general, people get so emotional.
And it's all talking points, and it's all this side or that side.
And it's all on meta.
Yeah. They're two sides of the same coin. And we just listen to these talking points, get emotional, and we just stay this status quo and this high anxiety and oh my gosh, and it gets us to sometimes do stuff, gets us to have fights with our drunk uncle.
It gets knee-jerk reactions that are not coming from our logical,
Right.
emotional, or wise mind. More emotional.
Yes. They play on our emotional mind, which I get, right? The emotional mind is why we buy stuff. Psychologists know this. That's why you hear a pharmaceutical like, oh, this drug can kill you. This drug can, you'll never have babies again.
That's why car salesmen have the highest charisma stat of all humans.
Really? That's pretty cool. Exactly.
I just came up with that.
Did you? Damn it. I see what happens. He just did it, and I fell for it. I was going to tell that to everybody. Every call, I was going to be like, hey, did you know? But I wouldn't have been using wisdom.
Right.
No, but seriously, that's true, right?
Probably.
It must be.
It makes sense.
Anyway. Okay. So we're at a half an hour already, which is pretty wild, actually.
Yeah, that conversation ran fast.
So how do we sum up logical mind, emotional mind, and wise mind?
There's definitely a place for logical mind. There's definitely a place for emotional mind. And a part of it is firstly becoming aware of when your brain is kind of moving between the modes, Because without awareness of you being overcome by an emotional mind, or without awareness of you only using your logical or rational mind at all times, you won't be able to start swinging the pendulum the other way to allow emotions into your reasoning, or to allow yourself to think about what you're doing instead of reacting to what's in front of you at the moment. So you definitely got to start building awareness, and everybody's different also. So you can't just follow what Josh is saying about how he feels things. You can't just listen to the best strategy for working out of our logical mind by Elon Musk or whoever, whatever it is. So becoming aware of yourself, and then also discerning for yourself where you want it to be, you know, because things don't always have to change, but sometimes you want the future to be different than where you are right now.
I think also having somebody in your life like a coach that can tell you, hey, I think you might have overthinked.
It was overthoughten, as we are right
Yeah,
now.
exactly. Or hey, do you think that you were emotional in that? You know, what serves you? Does yelling and flipping off that driver on a random Tuesday afternoon, does that serve you? Does that serve the person you want to be?
Right.
Having conversations with coaches that provide perspective, that are not echo chambers, that you can trust, is so important for your growth. And especially
people that can challenge your thoughts and make you have to think about why you're feeling certain ways.
Especially in this area of life.
Absolutely.
All right. Should we end there?
I think that's a good bookend. That was not a good bookend.
No, that was the didgeridoo. Have a good day. Okay. See ya.
All right. Thanks for listening.